I wanted to talk a little bit about my favorite movies of 2022 because I made a really conscious effort to go see as many as I could. I had a lot of extra time in my schedule, especially on like weekends and stuff, to go see everything. So I saw as many movies as I could, even like sadly some of the ones that I couldn't see in the theater because they were like primarily an online release. So my top 5 from 5 up to my favorite. So my number 5 movie of the year was Tar with Cate Blanchett. This movie was spectacular. I was really, really moved by the decision to put the credits at the beginning of the film. I feel like it was very humbling to the audience, as well as like it matched the attitude of the film really well, because Cate Blanchett's character is so into the politics of, you know, the orchestra, like professional orchestras, that she gets very sidetracked about what's really important, and that's like a lot of the work and crew that like an effort that the musicians themselves put into playing in the orchestra, and, you know, valuing people who you might consider to be below you, below the line. So that was really cool. I thought the overall story was really great. I think certain dialogue choices were really great. I thought it was so cool how it was like very multilingual, and that we had so many different characters from so many different places. I thought that was really cool and like representative of the you know, music industry. And I've played in classical orchestras before, and I was very impressed with Kate's conducting. I thought she probably trained and practiced a lot, because it is really difficult to do. Like, it seems like it might just be somebody waving their arms, but it's very difficult, and I was really impressed with the work that she put into it. I thought the ending was so interesting as well, because while Lydia herself didn't really value the music that she was conducting, other people did so much more, and I felt like that speaks to the power of music and how it can really bring people together, even if the conductor doesn't really respect the time and effort that goes into the like process of making music, as well as the enjoyment that an audience can get out of it. It was also interesting because I feel like a lot of people don't necessarily appreciate how much the conductor themselves actually controls how music sounds. A lot of the times it can seem like it's like something just written on paper and you get everything that you need to know from the sheet music, but it's definitely so much more than that, and I thought that was a really cool thing to emphasize as well. My number 4 pick was Everything Everywhere All at Once. I got to see this movie by myself in an empty theater, and I loved that experience so much. I went in blind, I didn't see any trailers or anything like that, and actually that's true of all 5 of my favorites from this year. I didn't watch as many, I avoided trailers at all costs this past year. I think trailers have just been a huge, they're draining, they tell me too much. I don't like trailers generally. I like teasers. I love the Barbie teaser, for example. Every time I go to a theater and I get to watch the Barbie teaser, I get excited. Everything Everywhere All at Once was spectacular. I loved the acting, the performances. I thought the casting was perfect. The story in and of itself was so philosophical, and I really loved being able to like over-research and overthink this movie. It was really fun because every time you turn a corner when you're thinking about this movie, there's more to take from it, you know? I was trying to get my father to appreciate the movie more. I think that his generation might have struggled with it more because there's an aspect of millennial and Gen Z and Gen Alpha having the world at their fingertips because we grew up with phones, we grew up with internet access. And due to that feeling, it can kind of spur a lot of nihilism because you see too much at once. You can see, you know, like right now, we know that Iran is like really struggling with like human rights problems. And so it's like people from all over the world learning about that can really like dampen your spirit. And so constantly having this negativity on your feed makes you really nihilistic. And I thought the movie was such a great spin on optimistic nihilism and existentialism, and it was just a really, really cool movie. And so in order to try to get my dad to appreciate the movie more, I was kind of explaining the philosophies of Everything Everywhere, and I feel like that kind of made him step back and look at the film in a different perspective, because I think looking at it with a wider lens actually is better than kind of nitpicking, even though nitpicking is very fun. I love, you know, the entire point is not dissimilar from the book The Midnight Library, because it's like you have billions of options, infinite options for your life, you know, for where you could go. And it's all based on little small changes you can make, different decisions. But like, you are where you are. And I love the message of like, there are a million other things happening at the same time, but valuing what's right in front of you is super important, because that's what you really do have. And of course, the Daniels did a great job directing. I thought the dialogue was fantastic. I thought the effects and certain comedic additions, like the rocks with googly eyes, so funny. Made me laugh, made me cry. It was quite a journey, and I really enjoyed this movie, and I really hope it continues to get lots of awards. My number 3 pick was Banshees of Inisherin, and it was really hard for me to decide whether to put Everything Everywhere or Banshees. Like, they could have tied, honestly. They could both be third place, because I sadly had to watch Banshees at home. I would have really preferred to see it in the theater, because I feel like having like surround sound and certain things like that really make an impact for like film enjoyment overall. It is like an experience. And I thought it was so funny. I saw a letterboxd review that said this is the kind of drama that would happen on a Minecraft server, and I feel like that's true. You have these people that live in a tiny town where everyone knows each other, and you know, one day your best friend says, I don't want to talk to you anymore. Like, what do you do after that? You don't have any other friends. There's nobody else in town to talk to except for an idiot. So, you know, what are you gonna do? And I feel like it's such a simple concept, but it is completely next level because of everything that snowballs after that. It perplexed me when I first watched it, because I couldn't believe certain things that were happening on screen. I was like, what? It was it was funny. It was uncomfortable. I thought the score was amazing. You know, everybody was amazing. I really, really liked it. The performances were so great. And it was kind of one of those movies where I thought that it was gonna be boring, but I wouldn't change any sequencing or pacing or plot points, because every scene was important. Every scene had a really great reason for occurring, and I just loved just random Irish mischief and violence. And it was great. I thought it was very timeless. I thought it was timeless, because this is the kind of thing that there could be remakes. Like, if it was a novel, there could be lots of remakes, you know, like Jane Austen or something like that. I feel like it'll be something that ages really well. I thought the artistry of it was fantastic. The cinematography, okay, they did have kind of a cheat, because Ireland is just so beautiful. But, you know, it's kind of like, you know, you watch The Lord of the Rings, you're like, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. You know, you get really, it's immersive because you're wowed by the scenery. But, you know, they used it to their advantage, so I'm not going to count off for that. My second favorite movie of the year was The Whale. It was intense. I made a video about it on my channel. You know, that's kind of my plus spoilers analysis, but I thought it was great. I thought it was something that could appeal to a lot of different generations. You know, older people could love it, younger people could love it. And I think it applies really strongly to our current worldview, just because of, you know, we've got decades of fat phobia, and then also this pandemic that's really changed the way that we view each other and ourselves. And so being able to see someone who has been in pandemic mode for so long of their life, and it really makes you empathize, because this main character is really struggling. And so being able to see him and relate to him is something that I don't know if this film came out before the pandemic, if it would have been as well received. But it was fantastic. Performances were amazing. The script was great. It pays really great homage to the original, which is a play. And I just, you know, it was very moving. It was very, there were certain aspects that were very heavy-handed, but it did not come without nuance. I think Aronofsky has mastered the perfect balance of like heavy-handedness and nuance, and they just really melded together really well in the film. My number one choice was really hard. I had to think about it so much, but the pure enjoyment that I got out of watching this film was unlike anything else. It's not the kind of thing that I'd want to rewatch, but it's the kind of thing that I could not recommend to everyone that I knew. And that film is Triangle of Sadness. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. It was so funny. It was so off-putting, yet also charming. And I like poop jokes. I like throw-up jokes. So I was having a great time with those. I loved the addition of certain political philosophies that were overtly discussed, and then the comparison with the actual story. And the main characters were all perfectly unlikable. And it was... the sequencing also was really good. I loved the opening scene with the models, and you know right away from the beginning exactly what the main messaging is going to be, and then they do this amazing job at doubling down and giving you, it's kind of like in an argument, you say, this is my argument, and then the whole rest of the movie is the reason why. And it's wonderful. It's so good. It's one of the best like critiques of wealth that I've seen in a long time, probably since I read Voltaire in high school. I have a copy of it somewhere. But yeah, it's great. I think everyone should watch it, and I think it was really undervalued this past year. I have a couple of other movies that I really wanted to mention because I think that they were either significant for their genre, or they were just really well done, and I kind of wanted to talk about them. I saw a lot of horror movies this year, and easily my favorite was Barbarian. This is one of the ones that I also went in to see blind. I was wowed. I went to go see it with my dad, so the two of us were like hooked, and they were so smart casting Bill Skarsgård. Genius casting, perfect. And like Justin Long's character is just so bad, and you hate him so much, but he's so good because he's acting so well. And it was just such a roller coaster, and I would go on it again and again and again. It was amazing. It was so good. One of my favorite movies of the year. I couldn't recommend it to my horror enjoyers enough. I was so wowed and moved by the movie. I thought it was really well done, and maybe it won't age well, but I just thought it was so good in the moment. And I loved going in not knowing anything about this movie. It was perfect because I went back and watched the trailer later, and I was like, I don't even know if I would have watched it. And I'm so glad that I did. Another movie that I really liked this year was Prey. Some people were really iffy about it. I'm not an expert on anything remotely cultural. I don't know anything. I'm clueless. I'm an idiot. All I know was that I thought it was great. I thought that the concept of having these previously very, very advanced aliens come on Earth and basically going back in time and making them more primitive was such a cool idea. I really liked that. And I thought the main character started off not that likable and then became really likable, and I really love that kind of character. And I don't know, I also just really enjoyed like the scene in which a whole bunch of French like trappers got murdered. I loved that. Something like slightly patriotic like came up inside of me. I was like, yeah, kill the French. And I don't know what that was about, but it was great. I really liked that. I thought it was beautiful. The scenery, the cinematography was really great. I loved the training montages and all of the hard work that she had to do, and I really enjoyed that. I thought it was great. I think it was one of the better Predator like universe movies that they've come out with. And I don't know, I really liked watching it. So I saw a couple of whodunits last year, and I liked Glass Onion, but I think I liked See How They Run more. And See How They Run was great because I loved the overarching message, which was a huge like criticism of true crime and the depiction of past crimes in media. And because I have some hot sports opinions about the Dahmer show. Like, I don't know if it was really very ethical to do that. I felt that I shouldn't watch it, so I didn't. And I do like Evan Peters, and I think he's a great actor, but I just think it's too soon. If you're going to do a crime thing, make it up yourself, or, you know, don't involve people who are the victims, you know, make it about the person themselves, and don't do gratuitous violence against victims. I feel like it's unethical. But See How They Run was just very great, very quirky, slightly forgettable, but Saoirse Ronan really, you know, she's a very fun, naive character, and I mostly enjoyed the main message. So that was a good whodunit that was kind of included last year. It went slightly under the radar. I think some people didn't hear about it or didn't get to see it in the theater. I think it had a pretty small release, only maybe 100 theaters or so. All right, so I also saw a pretty good rom-com. I thought The Last City with Sandra Bullock and Daniel Radcliffe was funny. I thought it was funny. I love a good romance novel. I love a bad romance novel. And so seeing that portrayed on screen, you know, like the community that likes romance novels, I thought that was good fun. I really liked Sandra Bullock. She's always funny. I really liked, what's his name? I don't know. His head's like a block. Channing Tatum. I liked Channing Tatum in the movie. I loved Brad Pitt's cameo. He was funny. And, it was just a really good, enjoyable popcorn movie. So the movies that I was like really, really disappointed with this year, like I didn't really like Top Gun that much. I am not like a Tom Cruise girly. Like, I like Eyes Wide Shut, but that's because I'm a Kubrick girly. So I don't really care about Tom Cruise. Plus, not to mention, Nicole Kidman can act in circles around that man. Like, he has potential. He's good in Interview with the Vampire. He's good in Eyes Wide Shut. But I feel like he just does shit for funsies because he feels like it instead of actually honing his craft. But, you know, do whatever you want, Tom Cruise. I don't care. Top Gun Maverick was watchable. I don't think I would watch it again on purpose. I did not like Do Revenge. It was like a really pretty but bad movie. So like, I would use this movie if I were like directing something and I needed a mood board. Like, I would take, you know, shots from the movie, but like, that's kind of it. The performances weren't good. The story was bad, like not good at all. And like, the queer representation like did not make up for it. It's kind of just like, okay, whatever, there's girls kissing, I don't care. I thought Lightyear was really disappointing. I mean, okay, like when I was watching the movie, I could like envision Chris Evans and Keke Palmer like both in the acting studio, and like I can imagine Keke Palmer like putting her all into this character because she did a really nice job. Her voice acting was phenomenal. And Chris Evans, I imagine him playing on his phone, like playing Tetris or something on his phone while doing the roles. And not good. I don't like Chris Evans that much. I feel like his acting is really lazy usually. And it definitely shone through in Lightyear. I didn't like it. It was bad. I watched Avatar. I got to the end of the movie and had already forgotten what it was about because it was just so long and so not memorable at all. It was so like, I don't know, it just felt like another James Cameron movie, and James Cameron really cannot keep my attention, and I am a very patient person. I love a slow burn. Slow burns are my favorite movies, and he just wasn't gonna fly with me. All right, Secrets of Dumbledore. I don't need to say anything about this movie other than that it was bad. We all knew it was gonna be bad. It was bad. Whatever. Multiverse of Madness. I like Sam Raimi. Okay? I like Sam Raimi. I hated Multiverse of Madness. It took everything for me to get through this movie, okay? I was watching with my family member, and we got halfway through the movie. We got to the Bruce Campbell cameo, okay? And I was like, can we please turn this off? Can we please turn this off? And so we turned it off, and I was like, thank God. And then I tried to rewatch it and I barely got to the end. It was borderline unwatchable. It was so bad. And I was like, I cannot watch any more Marvel movies this year. So I haven't watched a Marvel movie since then. It was unwatchable. I couldn't believe how much money they spent on it. I couldn't believe how much money it made. I was flabbergasted because I knew Top Gun was going to make a lot of money. I knew Avatar was going to make a lot of money. But Multiverse was horrible. And I like Doctor Strange as a character. I like Benedict Cumberbatch as an actor. And I like Elizabeth Olsen. I think she's really likable. I love her face. I hope she never gets Botox. She is going to be amazing, especially as she gets older. But this movie, no. There are way better written villains. So many better written villains. And she deserved better, to be honest. She deserved better, and so did Doctor Strange. I feel like the problem that Marvel has been having is that they have these really complex, well-written characters, and they throw them into these situations where the plot doesn't keep up with the character. So you have all these really, really likable characters and plots that do not keep up at all. Completely unsatisfactory. It's really disappointing because I like the actors, I like the characters, but a lot of the recent additions to the universe have been really lackluster or straight up bad. Okay, and then obviously Morbius was the worst movie last year. I loved the memes were amazing, I loved it, but you couldn't pay me to watch that movie. You couldn't pay me to watch that movie again. I mean, I'm already a Jared Leto hater, just not even necessarily as an actor, just as a person. The dude is not good. But you want to like it, you're like, oh, Matt Smith, not bad. But no, bad. I do have a brief rant though about Amsterdam, because I saw Amsterdam at home and I was confused about Amsterdam because I was like, Babylon and Amsterdam had unfortunately similar trailers. And I think a lot of people didn't see Amsterdam because of Babylon. But a lot of people didn't see Babylon because of Amsterdam. Do you see my issue? And the issue with that was, okay, first of all, Margot Robbie. She's great in both movies. She's much better in Babylon. Amsterdam, the movie was about the wrong character. The movie should have been about Robert De Niro, the actual dude, because that story was way more interesting than these three random people I don't care about. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that one. Anyway, there were a couple very other watchable movies. I thought the Pixar movie Turning Red was really good. I thought that Puss in Boots: The Last Wish was fantastic. I thought The Wonder with Florence Pugh was also very good. And it was actually interesting because I had watched a video recently about the Victorian era girls who were refusing to eat, and then I saw this movie and was like, whoa, that's kind of weird, kind of deja vu inducing. Those were my favorite movies of the year, I think. I have a full list on my letterboxd. I feel like this year was a really good year for movies, but it wasn't all that diverse. The good movies weren't all that different. A lot of them were about very personal relationships and respect, which is true for a lot of stories in general. The Whale and Banshees of Inisherin and Tar all had white people with interpersonal conflict. That's easy to get tired of. So I feel like something like Triangle of Sadness was such a great refresher to throw into the mix, because you've got diversity in all forms in one movie and it makes sense. It's not it's the characters are thrown in there just for plot points. It's you have characters with backstories and it makes sense with the plot and they all matter together. And that, I think, is actually really good writing. So, I think I'm really looking forward to watching other movies for the rest of this year, for 2023. I am so fucking excited for Barbie. That teaser trailer is one of the best teasers I have seen in years, and I am so excited because Greta Gerwig, I have faith in her. I really do. And I think the movie is going to be amazing. I think Oppenheimer let's just hope I don't want to punch Christopher Nolan in the face, because after watching Tenet, I was tempted, okay? Another movie you couldn't pay me to watch again.